Hello everyone and welcome on this channel. Today I'm going to show you graphics on the revenue generated by mobile games. And you're going to say that the mobile game industry is way bigger than you thought. Yes, but how much and how big publishers are doing to adapt to this new market with tactile gameplay? In advance, there are many players who think that mobile games are only games like Angry Birds, Candy Crush or puzzle of all kinds. And so, if you don't want to play shitty games, you absolutely have to play Kratos in the excellent God of War game series or Aloy in the equally excellent Horizon license. But between 2016 and 2021, mobile revenues increased from $37 billion to $93 billion. Because for the past 5 years, the world of mobile games has exploded with more and more blockbusters, that is to say games made by huge studios that go the extra mile to provide quality games. And in 2021, for the first time in history, mobile game revenues have grown to 52% of the overall video game market. Yes, I repeat it, 52% of the money spent in video games is spent only on mobile games. And if we accumulate the revenues of the 3 biggest hits of 2021, it's $7.4 billion via Android and iOS in-app purchases. PUBG Mobile, the battle royale in which you are parachuted onto an island solo 2 or 4 in death matches. Honor of King, a copy of League of Legends for the Chinese market. And Genshin Impact, the open world RPG that is a hit on all platforms. Summary for 2021, 8 games generated more than $1 billion as revenue. And this game did not change a lot since their release. The profit they make is colossal. I warned you at the beginning of the video and you're probably thinking, yes, the game industry, the mobile game industry is way bigger than I thought. If so, drop a like. For comparison, League of Legends generated $1.75 billion on its PC version. And a game with great success like Red Dead Redemption 2, it was $516 million in revenue the year of its release. Mobile games have incomparable graphic quality with an equivalent game on PC or console. But the reality is that everyone has a mini console in their pocket and that studios are all taking a turn to address this market. And we come to the second part of the video, how do big publishers adapt to this new market with tactile gameplay? In fact, some of them already use their license on mobile, and I've identified 3 ways to adapt them. Either they make a so-called cross-platform game, which means that it is the same game for all media. We can mention Genshin Impact. The game is identical, the only changes are in the game controls and in the reduced graphic quality to be adapted to smartphones. Another example with Blizzard. We can cite Hearthstone, and in this case there are no differences at all. Either they make games dedicated solely to a community of mobile gamers. This is the case of Dead by Daylight or Call of Duty Mobile. The player communities are separated by platforms, but the games are identical, with some graphic nuances once again. Either they reinvent the game with new game mechanics adapted to mobile phones. This is the case with League of Legends. They have completely revised the game interface, but above all they have redone the entire aiming system by adapting it to touch. But the most obvious example is rather the mobile version of Rocket League. Visually it has nothing to do, and yet we find the complexity of the original game. And for those who are worried about mobile gameplay, most recent games include controller support to make it easier to play FPS, Rocket League or even Genshin Impact for those who switch between their PlayStation and their phone. But above all, whatever the game, we can play where we want, when we want, and without forgetting the main one, we have as much fun whatever the platform. And if you want to play Among Us during an evening with friends, well, it's possible thanks to the mobile version. So in summary, studio already invested or will invest in mobile games because it is the best medium to reach more players. So What can we expect from big studios like Microsoft, Electronic Arts or Take-Two? Well, quite simply, more quality games to replace the ton of auto-battlers and idle games that are currently flooding the stores and which have a more than limited playful interest. I can't wait to see the games already announced on mobile. Like Diablo Immortal, whose beta took place 2 months ago. The hack and slash is almost identical to Diablo 3, but a new story and above all some classic adjustments to mobile games such as daily energy limits and therefore in Diablo, limits doing greater rifts. I am also waiting for the global release of Star Wars Hunters and Hyperfront, the first Valorant for mobile, an FPS with a class and spell system. These games are excellent and you can also find my tests on my French channel with English subtitles. I will add the links in the comments. This new video series deals with the world of games, so I'm handing you a red rope. You catch it and you're smarter than George Clooney. You squeeze it tight so you don't get lost in the immensity of YouTube. I've already listed a dozen of topics that I want to put in this video format, as why are we seeing more and more NFT games? Is it something good? Probably. Does the war in Ukraine impact the world of games? Obviously yes. And you can click on this thumbnail if you want to learn more about why Microsoft was so bad in the world of mobile games and why they had to buy a dedicated mobile game studio. I hope you like this video. If so, you can subscribe to the channel. I wish you all a good game and see you soon.